In the middle of the 20th century, behavioral psychologist B. F. Skinner put a hungry rat in a small, sterile box. Inside this box was a single, simple metal lever. When the rat pressed the lever, a food pellet dropped. The rat quickly learned the rule. Effort equaled reward. Action produced a predictable outcome. The rat's dopamine circuit locked into a stable, healthy rhythm. It pressed the lever. It ate. It was satisfied. But then, the researchers decided to change the machinery. They altered the blueprint of the rat's reality. When the lever was pressed, the outcome became completely randomized. Sometimes, a food pellet dropped. Sometimes, a sharp, painful electric shock shot through the floorboards. And sometimes, absolutely nothing happened at all. No food, no pain, just empty silence. The rat didn't just get confused. It didn't try to optimize its lever-pulling strategy or buy a daily planner to map out its long-term goals. It became neurotic. It became frantic. And eventually, the rat collapsed into a state of catatonic apathy. It huddled in the corner of the box, staring blankly at the wall, refusing to touch the lever even when it was practically starving to death. The neurochemical pathway connecting effort to reward had been entirely severed. That catatonic rat huddled in the corner is exactly what you look like at 9 o'clock on a Thursday night. You are sitting there, bathed in the pale glow of your monitor, staring blindly at a 90-page slide deck. You are rebuilding the Q3 strategy presentation for the 4th time this week because leadership decided they wanted to pivot overnight based on a whim, or a Forbes article they skimmed in an airport lounge. You feel this vast, hollow, numbing sensation expanding in your gut. A complete and utter loss of human motivation. Yet, your fingers move across the keyboard on pure, thoughtless reflex, typing out the words. Sounds great. Making the updates now. You are not failing. You are not losing your edge, and you do not lack resilience. What you are experiencing is the inevitable result of being fed into a machine that refuses to print the same document twice. The blueprint of your ambition, the very fabric of your work ethic, isn't just failing to fold into shape. It is being intentionally crumpled into a tight, useless ball and casually tossed into the wastebasket by a capricious, disorganized management structure. You are being forced to write your best work in disappearing ink, over and over again, until the page is nothing but a damp, shredded mess. The modern corporate machine is designed to keep you guessing. It promises you a pellet, shocks you with a weekend email, and routinely gives you absolutely nothing for your late nights, except more empty space to fill. Your boss isn't just being indecisive. They are actively, structurally gaslighting your dopamine. Before we dissect the exact clinical neurochemistry of why you feel completely dead inside while desperately pretending to care about next quarter's shifting key performance indicators, we need to document the damage. Drop into the comments right now and confess the most useless, soul-sucking task your boss made you erase, rewrite, and redo this week. Let's start building a long, undeniable paper trail of our collective exhaustion. When you look at that paper trail, you will notice a terrifying pattern. The culture surrounding us insists that your exhaustion is a personal defect. You have been conditioned to believe that your inability to smile through the 5th sudden shift in company strategy means you simply lack grit. You are told your resilience is paper thin. You are handed self-help books and told to develop a stronger work ethic, to adapt, to overcome, to endure the friction. But this is the grand, macro-level gaslighting of the modern professional era. Your burnout is not a flaw in your character, and it is certainly not a lack of drive. It is a highly engineered feature of the corporate machine you are trapped inside. We hide this brutal reality behind sanitized, bloodless buzzwords. Your leadership talks constantly about being agile. They praise dynamic workflows and celebrate the team's ability to pivot at scale. But if you take a scalpel and strip away the slick corporate linguistics, these terms are nothing more than beautifully crafted excuses for structural chaos. Agility is a weaponized concept used to keep you perpetually off balance. It is a systemic refusal from the top down to commit to a singular direction, masking managerial incompetence as flexibility. When you never know where the goalposts are, when the parameters of success are constantly erased and redrawn on a whim, the machine can extract endless, unrewarded effort from you. You are kept running in a state of suspended panic, perpetually drafting a map for a territory that violently shifts every single morning. Think about what it actually takes to produce meaningful, lasting work. It requires structure. It requires time for the ink to settle into the page, for the delicate fibers of the idea to dry, bind, and solidify. You start your career as a pristine, tightly bound ream of heavy stock paper. You are ready to be written on, ready to hold weight, ready to archive something substantial. But that is not what this machine is built to process. Instead, you are fed, sheet by sheet, blindly into the mouth of a massive, indifferent, industrial shredder. Leadership demands a perfect, flawless draft by Tuesday morning. You pull all-nighters, pouring yourself onto the page, carefully aligning every margin. Yet, before the ink is even dry, before the document can even be read, let alone filed, the blades catch the edge of the page. The strategy has shifted. The client pushed back. The vice president had a random thought in the shower. And so, your heavy stock effort is pulled through the steel teeth, violently torn into meaningless ribbons, and casually dropped into the recycling bin. Then, they smile brightly at you, hand you another blank sheet, and demand you print the exact same document again. But this time, with a slightly different font and a new cover page. This cycle of creation and immediate destruction is not an accident. The heavy, grinding gears of this machine are specifically, meticulously calibrated to grind your professional boundaries into wet, formless pulp. They do not want you solid. They want you malleable. They want you easily torn and easily replaced. Because when you are reduced to nothing but pulp, you can be molded into whatever temporary, disposable shape they need today, and dissolved just as effortlessly tomorrow. And while management calls this relentless pulping process optimization, underneath your skull, your brain is interpreting it as a direct biological threat. That direct biological threat registers first in the deep primal structures of your mind through a mechanism called reward prediction error. Your brain operates as a ruthless, highly efficient accounting ledger. For thousands of years, human neurochemistry has relied on a very simple, very predictable transaction. You exert physical or mental effort, you complete the task, and your brain pays you in dopamine. It is a clean, unbroken line of ink drawn straight across the page. But constant pivoting, shifting key performance indicators, and moving targets intentionally sabotage this biological contract. When the brain can no longer predict if your late-night hustle will actually result in a finished, celebrated project, or if it will just be another crumpled draft tossed into the corner, the ledger stops balancing. The brain, seeking to conserve precious emotional energy, simply closes the dopamine valve. You don't feel unmotivated because you are lazy. You feel unmotivated because your neurochemistry has correctly identified that your effort is a bankrupt investment. This structural bankruptcy breeds what behavioral psychologists call learned helplessness. Imagine taking a crisp, heavyweight sheet of parchment. You ball it up in your fist, squeezing it tight. Then, you flatten it out. Now, do it again, and again, and again. Eventually, the structural integrity of the fibers is completely destroyed. The paper no longer has the tension required to snap back. It stops trying to lay flat. It simply surrenders to the creases. That is your mind under modern corporate leadership. You have been forced to start and abandon so many arbitrary initiatives that your brain has learned the ultimate depressing truth. Fighting the shredder is pointless. Compounding this learned helplessness is the silent, insidious drain of ego depletion. This is the psychological toll of constantly regulating your emotions to survive the chaos. The sheer amount of willpower it takes to smile politely on a conference call, to nod agreeably when a director blindly dismantles your 3 weeks of meticulous labor, bleeds you completely dry. You are not exhausted by the work itself. You are exhausted by the grueling, theatrical performance of pretending the work matters when you know it will be recycled by morning. Yet, the corporate machine keeps you turning the crank through a philosophical trap known as toxic teleology. This is the deeply ingrained, delusional belief that all this suffering, all this grinding friction, is building towards some grand, meaningful culmination. You tell yourself that if you just push through this brutal quarter, if you just let them shred a few more of your boundaries, you will eventually earn the promotion, the prestige, the legacy. You convince yourself that you are drafting a masterpiece. Let me be brutally honest with you. You are not drafting a masterpiece. You are just cheap ink bleeding through a disposable page, strictly there to make a quarterly revenue graph point slightly upward for unseen shareholders. When you finally realize this, that hollow, numbing sensation in your gut makes perfect sense. Your clinical-grade apathy is not a symptom of clinical depression, and it is certainly not a personal failure. It is a highly accurate, biologically appropriate survival response to an incredibly hostile environment. Because you are a high achiever, your immediate instinct when faced with this hostile environment is to somehow fix it. You do not retreat. You double down. You turn for salvation to the sprawling, multi-billion-dollar hustle culture industry that feeds off your quiet desperation. You eagerly buy into the toxic solutions sold to you by aggressively cheerful productivity influencers and corporate wellness consultants. You download incredibly complex, beautifully color-coded organizational templates, believing that if you just tag your tasks correctly, the panic will subside. You study agile frameworks. You wake up at 5 in the morning to meticulously fill out your high-performance daily planner, defensively blocking out your calendar in 15-minute increments. You dutifully attend the mandatory corporate mindfulness seminars, sitting under fluorescent lights, taking deep, centering breaths while the company secretly drafts another round of departmental restructuring. But all of these systems, all of these frantic, desperate attempts to seize control of your collapsing day, share one fatal, devastating flaw. They all operate on the fundamental assumption that you are existing in a rational environment. They assume that if you simply organize your workflow logically, the corporate machine will recognize and respect your logic. This is the great rationality myth. Productivity tools are engineered to optimize output, to grease the wheels of a functional assembly line, but you cannot optimize your way out of deliberate organizational chaos. Color coding a spreadsheet does not protect your weekend from a director who changes her mind every 48 hours. A flawless morning routine does not stop the industrial shredder from suddenly turning on at 3 in the afternoon. What you are actually engaging in is not optimization. It is an exercise in what we can call false origami. You are trying to take the precious, finite, heavy stock paper of your talent, your time, and your sanity, and you are desperately trying to fold it into something incredibly intricate. You fold a corner here to patiently accommodate an impossible, shifting deadline. You crease a heavy edge over there to absorb the impact of a newly invented deliverable that no one actually needs. You bend, twist, and contort yourself into a tighter, ever more complex origami swan, hoping against hope that if you can just engineer yourself perfectly enough, the management machine will finally appreciate the art. You think that if you are just flexible enough, you will be spared the blade. But the machine does not care about origami. It does not have the capacity to appreciate the delicate craftsmanship of your late nights. The machine only wants raw, loose scrap paper to blindly feed the furnace. The harder you try to perfectly crease yourself to fit into the impossible, jagged spaces of a toxic job, the more profound strain you place on your own structural integrity. Every time you force yourself to cheerfully adapt to a meaningless pivot, you create a deep, sharp crease in your own psychological fabric. And the brutal, undeniable physics of papercraft dictate that a single sheet can only be folded, compressed, and creased so many times before the underlying fibers simply give out. You do not become a masterclass in efficiency. You just become incredibly, dangerously brittle. The intricate fold lines you created to survive deepen into permanent structural fractures, and eventually, under the sheer, unyielding weight of the corporate press, you stop bending. You just violently tear right down the middle. To prevent that tear, you must accept a cold, deeply uncomfortable truth. You cannot fix a machine that was built to eat you. The only way to survive the heavy industrial press of modern work is to stop folding yourself altogether. You have to initiate a complete cognitive override. Forget going above and beyond. Forget the toxic myth of proactive problem solving. It is time to embrace the quiet, heavily armored art of strategic incompetence and malicious compliance. You must completely redirect your neurochemistry. Right now, your dopamine is held hostage by the outcome of your work. But we have already established that the outcome will inevitably be scrapped, shredded, or violently altered by leadership. So, you have to sever that tie. Stop investing your emotional weight into the final product. Let the hollow victories, the sudden pivots, and the completely meaningless key performance indicators belong entirely to them. Instead, you must start finding your neurochemical reward in the brutal, unflinching act of boundary holding itself. You must train your brain to get a dopamine hit from the simple, declarative word no. You find your profound satisfaction in the sharp, heavy click of a closed laptop at exactly 5 o'clock. You find your pride in delivering exactly what was requested on the brief. Nothing more, nothing less, and absolutely nothing volunteered. This is the practice of radical underperformance. It is the art of unfolding. You must deliberately uncrease yourself. Stop bending your life to accommodate their chaos. Smooth out the frantic edges. Become a flat, heavy, unyielding sheet of thick cardstock. When management tries to rapidly fold you into a new, impossible shape to cover for their own lack of planning, you simply refuse to hold the crease. You remain rigidly, beautifully flat. You do not jam the heavy iron gears of the corporate machine by fighting it with aggression, or by attempting to perfectly optimize its broken parts. You jam the gears by becoming far too stiff to be easily manipulated. You let their frantic, desperate energy slide right off your heavyweight surface. There is a deeply personal text written on your soul, a blueprint of your actual identity, your actual passions, and your actual worth. Do not let a disorganized corporation bleach you blank just to use you as disposable scrap paper. Preserve your ink for the things that actually matter. If you are tired of being blindly fed into the shredder and want to learn how to actively jam the gears, subscribe to The Paper Cog. Let's rewrite the blueprint together. Stay flat, stay unyielding, and I will see you in the next one.